A new Trump administration may bring in new policies which could have a big impact on markets and the economy. Joining us now with a look at how things may play out is Chris Krueger, Managing Director with the TD Cowen Washington Research Group. And Chris, it's been a very, very busy week. Thanks very much for joining us. Before we get into what Trump's policies may look like, give us some reaction to the election results.
So Republicans should have 53 in the Senate, maybe 52. We're still waiting on the House. The Republicans have not secured a majority yet there. It looks like they'll either have a one-seat majority up to maybe a five-seat majority. We're still waiting on a handful of races in the West, mainly Arizona and California. But right now, pretty historic election for sure.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the picture is looking like it's going to be a strong mandate for Trump. Let's walk through some of his policy objectives, starting with trade and tariffs.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I mean, they're really the big four: deregulation, taxes, trade, and immigration. With trade and immigration, I think what's important to note, this can be done without the Congress. The Congress ceded most of the tariff powers to the president in the 1960s and 1970s. So, we'll see what happens there. There are two big areas that Trump has campaigned on. The first is either a 10% or a 20% across the board blanket tariff. The second is focused on China. This would be essentially repealing permanent normal trade relations with China. That would take the blended tariff rate on Chinese imports from about 20% to 60%.
Okay, well, let's talk about tax policies. What are you expecting there?
It's entirely dependent on what happens in California, Alaska, and Arizona on within those House races. Provided the Republicans take or hold their majority, this is going to be all that is really this is the dominant issue on Capitol Hill next year. That's because at the end of next year, all of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, those big Trump tax bills, they all expire at the end of next year. So what Trump and Republicans in the House and Senate want to do is extend all of those rates. That's about $4.5 trillion just to keep them current. So we'll see that process unfold next year, along with a number of other tax proposals that Trump has talked about on the campaign trail, whether it's no tax on tips or other tax provisions, which are all quite expensive.
Okay, so now I'm going to jump to industrial policy, and because there's a potential for supporters like Elon Musk to have a voice in creating policy. Walk us through that.
Well, I mean, this sort of ties all four of those key policies together, right? This is sort of a factory North America, America first industrial policy, building on some of the Inflation Reduction Act components, building on USMCA and others. But the thesis with the repeal of permanent normal trade relations with China is to re-onshore critical industries of the future in the United States, building sort of a tariff moat around the United States if necessary. But the whole idea here is a renaissance of American manufacturing, and that's, by the way, largely bipartisan. Now, the tactics on that are very different, but the broad overall strategy of industrial policy, national champions policy, re-onshoring in the U.S., a very bipartisan issue.
Okay, and what about immigration? What are you expecting there?
It could be quite drastic. This is when you look at the exit polls, the top two issues, pretty much across the board, were inflation and immigration. What Trump is talking about and continues to talk about, and we expect he will at least attempt, is the largest deportation effort in U.S. history. We'll see who is put in charge at the Justice Department, at Customs, and some of the other key positions of power there. I think just like trade policy, it's important to note that presidents have pretty broad discretion on this. There are a number of bills that remain on the books, right? There's legislation on the books that would, in theory, permit the president to move forward on this effort. I think there are a lot of logistical questions and otherwise, but this was a probably one of the most central campaign pledges of President-elect Trump, and we expect he will at least attempt what he has campaigned on.
Okay, now let's pivot over to the sort of the global reaction to the elections. When you look internationally, what might Trump's foreign policy look like?
Yeah, well, so I mean, I think there are two big areas where President-elect Trump has campaigned on. That's looking for both a ceasefire in Ukraine as well as in Gaza. So I think those are probably the top two foreign policy goals in kind of the first 100 days. We would expect when Trump is sworn in on January 20th to move incredibly quickly. If you recall the first term, 2017, a lot of kind of the first, really the first 9 to 10 months was all about repealing and replacing Obamacare. This time around, we expect they will really move as quickly as possible. Capitol Hill focused on taxes. Trump really focused on those four big principles, and then adding the fifth of foreign policy with a focus on both Ukraine and the Middle East.
Okay, and how about the mechanics that are at play here? How quickly can he enact all of these changes?
On both the trade and immigration side, within days, using something like IEPA, which is the International Economic Emergency Powers Act, very quickly. The deportation efforts would probably take a bit longer, but we would expect action pretty much across the board, starting on January 20th. What we keep hearing from folks is, all gas, no brake, expect, speed to be the order of the day.